Good morning, and thank you everyone for joining us following this important vote. Today, the House has acted. The House has acted to keep the government open, to control spending, and to protect people from an unworkable law that is making it harder on them. My colleagues have all voted in favor of this law because it's going to help moms and dads and families and young people and seniors all across this country. And that's who this is all about. When I was home in August, like so many of my colleagues, I heard the stories from individuals and families who are concerned, who are panicked over the implementation of this law and the impact that it's having on their lives. So that's why the House has acted. And today, we urge the Senate to take action. We urge our colleagues in the Senate, our allies on the outside, and the American people to push the Senate to have this important debate on the floor of the Senate. Because if we are going to take action on behalf of the American people, we need the Senate to have this debate on the floor of the Senate.
When we started this health care debate, the President led with a very big promise to the American people. If you like the health care that you can have, that you currently have, you can keep it. Today the headline reads that 20,000 Americans who work for Home Depot will no longer be the case. They were provided even as part-time. But Obamacare does not allow that. That's why today when we acted, it wasn't just a group of Republicans, but it was a bipartisan vote. Let me state that again because I want to make sure you write it correctly. It was a bipartisan vote because we're Americans first. It's a privilege to sit in this office, and I will tell you this. As the founders crafted this country, they crafted two bodies to work. The House has now done their work. We call upon the Senate to do theirs as well.
You know, the House has been fighting to stop Obamacare since 2009. And we have said over and over again, this law is going to increase the cost for the working middle-class families of this country, and we're now seeing it. We've said from the beginning that this law will harm our economy, and we're seeing our economy turn from a full-time job economy into a part-time job economy. That's why we are doing our job, and now it is up to Senate Democrats to show some responsibility and follow the House's lead. Now, you know, many Senate Republicans have promised to leave no stone unturned fighting this bill, and all of us here support that effort. Now, we're calling on Senate Democrats to do the same thing. And I want to know where Senator Pryor stands on protecting the middle class from the consequences of this horrific bill. Earlier this summer, a nonprofit group in Fort Smith, Arkansas, that provides care for seniors announced that they're cutting hours for hundreds of staff members to 28 hours a week. How about Kay Hagan in North Carolina? Does she understand the consequences that Obamacare is having in her state? Carly C's, a grocery store. The President, Mac McClam, has said it's not feasible or sustainable to extend coverage for all of the 1,100 employees that he has. He, too, may have to cut hours for much of his workforce. What about Mary Landrieu of Louisiana? Obamacare is also hurting her hardworking taxpayers in that state. In July, Lawrence Katz, owner of Dot's Diner, told the senator in a committee hearing that he may have to lay off as many as 16 workers. And these are working middle-class Americans just trying to make ends meet. Yeah. And finally, what about Mark Begich of Alaska? Yeah. Through Obamacare, Americans across the country could be hit with the rate shock. In Alaska, it's predicted that premiums could rise between 30 and 80%. What is Senator Begich going to do about this? Will he vote to keep Obamacare in place? We're into the fight, and we want the Senate to join us.
You know, we had a victory today for the American people. And frankly, we also had a victory for common sense. Yeah. Senator Baca said it right several months ago when he said that this law is a train wreck. And it is a train wreck. You know, the president said, you know, if we pass this law, health care costs will go down. Well, now we find out that health care costs are going up for most Americans. The president said if you like the health insurance policy that you have, you can keep it. Well, we found out that's not quite accurate either, and in the coming months, millions of Americans are going to find out it's just not quite true. Listen, this is hurting our constituents, it's hurting the American people. At a time when the economy is barely eking along, wages aren't increasing, new jobs aren't available, and what are we doing? We're putting more cost and more inconvenience on the American people. It's time for us to say no. It's time to stop this before it causes any more damage to American families and American businesses. You got businesses all over the country who are not hiring because of the impact of this law. You've got other businesses that are reducing the hours for their employees because of this law. And so our message to the United States Senate is real simple. The American people don't want the government shut down, and they don't want Obamacare. The House has listened to the American people. Now it's time for the United States Senate to listen to them as well. Thank you.